the juice. Yeah, man, that's when we put the squeeze on it.
But I felt like there's a lot that I've been doing, and it's made me happy. I'm, like, really sore right now, and we're about to go to basketball practice because I was just lifting fucking piles of dirt the whole time. But it's really nice. There's a good view, and, I'm into biology and all that shit. And I've been able to connect, not even with nature, but just with, like, the natural dynamics of the study through gardening and all that shit. What have you been doing for service learning?
Make chalk videos. The issue is we're not... Okay, sorry. Let me... Make videos for Chalk, the hospital, for kids that are waiting. Chalk?
Never heard of it.
Bro. Anyways, for kids that are in the hospital, but I kind of feel bad because they're not really making videos like that.
What, they're just terrible videos?
Yeah.
Just like our first podcast? Terrible?
Our first podcast was me talking. Was that terrible?
Okay, no, the episode that was put up first was terrible.
Yeah.
So now we gotta do our talking right now. So I'm gonna go on my whole ramble. This is like my basketball story, but it has a lot of metaphors to my life. So, I grew up in, let's say, the city of T, California. I grew up in an average suburb. I had my parents, I had my brother. And it was cool and all, but I always grew up as a nerd. I was a fat kind of loser. Jesus Christ, there's a bee. Stop.
You have to stay calm. It's not gonna hurt you.
So... I grew up in an elementary school, and I stayed a loser for a while. There was, like, a handball dynamic. So all, like, the quote-unquote athletic kids played handball. And because I was naturally, like, I was an early bloomer. Okay, I'll talk about that later. I was an early bloomer for my first puberty, and I was a late bloomer for my late puberty. So I was an early bloomer, and I was taller than most other people. So I played handball. All, like, the athletic kids played handball. I sucked at handball. So I remember... This was second grade. I was like loser. So I lost the game. I was like fucking crying. I talked about this. I should prelude this with I'm trying to write a short story to put my mind around this and write it all because it helped me when I was angry with whatever was happening to organize it in some type of written format. So here's Rod. He's not even gonna wave at me. Rod.
What's up, Rod?
Okay, so it was second grade, and I was crying, basically. I just lost a game of handball. And I think you need to understand, like, the dynamics of handball. If you were good at handball, you're fucking cool. If you were bad at handball, you're a loser. I sucked at handball. So I feel like that's the first time I really started playing basketball. It was second grade. I remember I went to the blacktop, and there were high rims, and there were low rims. It had the same dynamic. All the cool kids playing the high rims. Losers playing the low rims. That's where I met, like, my first best friend and probably, like, my next best friend after that guy left. So, say their names were, like, M and D. So, M, his dad was in jail, and he lived with his mom, and he lived in, like, there was a projects near the high school. What's good?
Yes.
So,
why are you guys chilling in the trunk?
Why not? Recording a
cool
podcast.
spot.
You know I have a podcast.
For what?
I told you. I showed it to you.
You never showed me your podcast.
I swear I
Are you
did.
gonna come?
Yeah, I am. What's it called?
Orange juice. Wait, no. I showed you.
Never- no,
I showed
you
you my
never
last one.
told me about it.
Okay, whatever. I'll send it to you later.
What's it about?
We're just talking about life.
Dave.
It is you and Rockdale?
Yeah, and we just bring people.
Am I on it right now?
Yeah.
Well, we're probably gonna edit this out.
No,
but-
we're gonna keep this in. You could be
Really?
on. You could be on it later if you want.
I bet. You just gotta hit me up with the link.
Yeah. You could just talk your shit if you're on this. See, bro. So where's that at? So
M's dad was in jail.
M's
Lived
dad
in
was in
projects.
jail. Though there was a projects. I lived in a really rich suburb. I think that's I you understand that. And ironically, it was ironic as a kid that made me insecure, like because people would make fun of me. That's besides the point. Like when they found out I had a swimming pool in my backyard, they went crazy. So, anyways, I was in the suburb, and there was apartments and there was a projects. So I feel like I'll talk later, but I kind of grew up with the gutter mentality because the people I hung around with were kind of from the gutter. So even though I never had lived it, I can't even say I've been through extreme adversity, but the way I especially play in basketball, I grew up with these kids from the gutter. And I think that definitely influenced how I play or I approach basketball, or even though I'm not like a soldier in the way that I think, where I'll just follow anyone, I'm a bulldog. You know, I'll work for anything that I actually want. So, D, you know D.
Of course.
He's a hooper now. He's a hooper. But back then, he kind of sucked. He didn't suck, but he was kind of like M, who goes to school. Mar.
Oh, I see.
So he was like a tryhard, and people kind of disrespected him. So he came from, his dad like kind of struggled. I'm not sure struggle to find a job was a good way of speaking it, because he was an accountant. So I know he used to be in the army, but he immigrated from, and he went around the United States. So it was to the point where like,
sorry,
D really didn't have like a place, you know, because he was always moving around. So again, I always try and talk about this hierarchy. I hate when people don't talk about there's like a social hierarchy and they try and ignore it, because there is. So all the cool kids get the basketballs first. They were playing with a lopsided handball. You know, one of those ones where the gray stuff is bulging from the side on the short rims. So I played with them. M, immediately, I was in the English class. He became like my best friend, and he was very mature at the time, and as far as he knew how to act, because he was just outside all day. So he knew the way to conduct himself, so I always kind of looked up to him. And in school, I was smarter than him, let's be real. So I would help him there. So it was kind of like a 1-2 punch. So third grade, he kind of disappears. So I'm not sure what happened. He either got expelled or he moved schools. I'm going for the former, because he was kind of like, you know, he got in trouble all the time. Like all the time. So I remember though, I was walking home from third grade, and he was on a bus. He plays football. He was on a bus with a football team, I guess, for elementary. He just waves down, he's like, "Hey, David." And that's the last time I saw him. Wait, no, that's a lie, because I saw him in middle school, but that was the last time I saw him for a few years. So in that time point, I became best friends with D. I remember there's one day I got in a fight with my brother in like 4th grade, and my mom's just like, "Go outside," because you know how I get when I'm erratic. Is that the right word? When I'm irritated, I'm good at like keeping control of my feelings, but once it reaches a certain point, I just go over the top. So my mom's like, "Go outside." So this is really like when I just became one with like the parks and stuff like that. And I know that sounds corny, but like once I was thrown out that day, like I spent the whole day outside, and I found that as a release. So I always took the parks for my release. So whenever I felt bad, and that D was always there, so I always got to meet D there. I always got to meet my childhood friends there. So I guess like going to these parks is where I met the people that I grew up with, and it's where I learned most of my lessons, and it was my like emotional release from everything. So that in turn turned into basketball, because basketball was the main thing I was doing there. During this time period, I never took basketball serious. It was always just a release for me, and something, it was social basketball. It wasn't basketball. So 5th grade, or is there anything I have to talk about elementary? I went to the college near here with C that starts with it, and they had a basketball camp.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to mention, I was a loser there too. I sucked there. But I remember there's 2 things that influenced me the most through that time period. I played NBA 2K12, honestly. That really got me into basketball. And my brother also played basketball at this time point. Him being taller than me and all that, I feel like that also influenced me in that my brother was always taller than me, so I always had to chase after him. And now that people are taller than me, because I'm short, I'm kind of like, I don't see that as a challenge. Or I see that as a challenge, but I'm not scared of it. You know, I'm not intimidated when someone's 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
I'll guard anyone. So.
Is that David?
Yeah.
What's up, David?
It's good.
What are you sitting on top of the truck? Is that your car?
This is not my car.
Whose car is this?
This isn't his car.
We don't
This is
know.
a friend. No, it's friends.
We don't know whose car it
Don't
is.
say who. Don't say that.
Kidding.
Okay.
I was gonna take a picture of vandalizing their car with your
We asked him.
butt.
So
Why is your thing hot?
What?
Pull your pants up, bro.
That's
Okay.
fine.
So, 5th grade, I remember I was super committed. It was going into 5th grade, and I was like, okay, so this is going to middle school. I was really scared. So one thing, my middle school, it had 5th grade into it too. I know that's kind of abnormal. Some people just have 7th, 8th. Some people have 6th, 7th, 8th. I had 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So
Yeah.
going to 5th grade was really my entry into middle school. And I saw my brother. My family always tried to make me scared of things. Like, when you get to this age, it'll be so much harder. So 5th grade, I was shitting bricks. So one thing that I tried to change was I tried to get serious into basketball, or that I kind of needed to get serious into basketball because everyone else was doing it, and I wanted to be part of a team or something like that. So I joined SE. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I joined SE, and I played on their B team. D went with me there. He made their A team because he was better at me at this point. He was always better than me,
Well,
but
yeah.
he worked harder than me, and he was more skilled than me. So he made the A team, and he was starting there. I remember, by the way, I just wanted to reiterate, me and D were so close. Like, he was always like family to me. I would say like 2/3 of my awakened day with him. I'd spend days in his garage. I played 2K with him. I did all that stuff. So D made A team. His dad, I was homies with him too. He offered to put him out to B. I told him to go to the A team because I know he was willing to succeed. He wanted to succeed more than me, and I never wanted to hold any individual back. So I'm on the B team. It sucks, but I start. Not because I'm better than anyone. It's always been because I work hard. I started as power forward. So, well, I was like a fat kid, but I got a lot of rebounds. I maybe got like 2 points per game on an open layup. So this time, I barely know anything about basketball. But literally just after 4 months, you know how SE works. Like, we have really good sets of kids, and then they leave to other teams.
Yeah.
And they, like, get really, really good once they leave to other teams. So there was another wave of that. So after that year, I was starting on the A team. And I had this new coach. He went to Oklahoma. He was like a very old guy, but he was 6'11". And he had old principles. And he saw me as a bulldog, and he really believed in me to excel. So we had one coach who was very skilled, and then we had the old coach. And the old coach really, really believed in me. And I don't know where he is. Justin knows who he is. He did so much for me in basketball that, like, and I shouldn't even say life. He did things for me in life that instilled in me a certain type of confidence that I'll get into it later. I think I lost for a bit, but it's helped guide me through everything in life. And I feel like when people talk about how coaches change themselves, that's one of the people I look at as someone who changed me. There's another guy, Coach P. He was like a hard ass, but he was a really good coach. And he taught, like, the SoCal player,
Wow, you gotta leave that out. SE.
SE players how to become extremely skilled. So I immediately jumped into this environment where I was playing gold as starter, and I sucked. I sucked because this was my second season. So I worked my ass off. I stayed there, and we built it up again, and we made a good team again. Why is Luca recording us? It's good.
What's up? We're having sex. Care to join? We
It's
don't know.
Jaden's. Why do you keep on saying that? It's Jaden's.
Because obviously we know whose truck it is. We're just sitting in some random person's truck. Yeah.
Bye. So,
He's a cool car.
I'm gonna fast forward to 7th grade. At this time, I become super tight with everyone. The parks are literally my home. I'm playing pickup every day. My grades are fantastic. I'm in love with everything. Like, 7th grade, like, I've always sort of considered this might surprise you, but I consider myself a romantic. I romanticize a lot of things, and 7th grade, I think, was the peak of that.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise you?
No.
Okay, well, I've always considered myself sort of romantic in that sense. I had such a close, tight-knit group of friends, and maybe I'll get into experiences later, though. I was an asshole, and, like,
You told me.
freshman Dave, like, to the exponential point.
Yeah.
So middle of 7th grade, I have to move because my brother's going to the school, and I have to move to accommodate his and my father's needs because he works in Pasadena, which is a long drive. So I'm moving from this place I grew up my whole entire life, and once I come to the other side, it's completely different in that there's not a park near me. I come in the middle of 7th grade, so my grades drop because I had to get used to like this new system, and it's a magnet school, so it's pretty hard and educationally tough. So I come in with no friends. There's no one that really plays basketball that well. I was better than most other people at basketball, including there was a guy that we just played in U High School.
Yep.
And I remember we had a little rivalry.
M?
No. J.
Okay. Yeah.
So I feel like this was the peak time of loneliness. So I still played on that club team, but the thing is there was another wave. So where D left the club team, and a lot of other people left it too, and that didn't make me feel good. So it was just everything coupled together put me in this stage of extreme social isolation. And the only time where I was really let out of this box was one, playing Fortnite, and another during basketball games and practices. So that's where I really turned more into just like a PJ Tucker, into like an annoying fuck. Because it was either I was quiet as shit or I was annoying as fuck. So it was everything suppressed turned into the extreme. So I became like more than a Draymond Green. I was a complete fucking asshole in basketball, and I was quiet as shit in real life. And that, I feel like this was a character development moment, but also it was like really bad in a sense. Not even in a sense, it was just bad. So 8th grade happens, I'm starting to get closer with people at my middle school, and then I have to go again to this new private school. And now I'm in the private school. The first year, they're like, David, I'm supposed to make JV, but then they hold me back into freshman year. Okay, I should start from the summer. So, I shouldn't say the name. So it's the first day, there's a basketball legend in the gym. I'm starstruck as shit. Everything here starstruck me. There's a owner of K's, the HPs.
Not following.
K's?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm tripping, my fault.
Okay, and it's a super rich high school. It's not that I never felt like... It's not that I was scared of them. It was that I felt extremely out of place. And it wasn't just like a socio-economic thing. It was like they have a name, they have a reputation. These guys all know each other, and I'm just here now. So, again, basketball, I turned to basketball. And my summer freshman year, I played varsity, which was crazy at the time because I was a 13-year-old against NH, Bay, NH, varsity. And I remember that. I got my shit dunked on. And that scared me like hell because, especially coming from where I came from, we don't have people dunking like that. We're small. We're gritty. We're not. So, my ass, like, I come in scared, but I'm hungry at that time. You knew me as a freshman. Can you give a description of me as a freshman?
Say, well, once he like fit into his Frosh role.
No, as a person.
Oh, as a person? Well, okay, so first it was kind of like quiet still. You know?
Stop.
Yeah, okay. Quiet. When he played basketball, though, he's commanding. At least out of the kids that we played with. We didn't really know each other like that until
Alright, just say
basketball.
it. Put the shit here. I was an asshole.
Yeah, he was an asshole.
So I was so vindicated that I was in Frosh that I took it out on a lot of my teammates and stuff like that. I even took it out on the coach because I knew I was better than everyone else there. I'm be real, and I was. And
Can I say something?
well, on the Frosh team.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
You were held back by the coach just because the coach wanted to be selfish and hold a good player to himself.
Don't say that.
No, that's true.
No, but like other people are gonna listen to this on the team.
Dude.
And no, I fuck with the coach. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
do
that-
too.
It's just that I felt like they put me in a scenario where I was gonna sit and fail. Like I think that. So I had to work my ass off. A lot of complaining, a lot of bitching, and I'm not gonna take the complaining and bitching back. That wasn't part of me being an asshole. That was just me being an individual. So then I got placed in a JV by the time it was league. I hooped out there. I should explain. I was the captain of Frosh, and I played power forward. Growing up, I was a power forward-ish, small forward-ish. Then I got moved out to JV. I played point guard. I started point guard on JV. And there were 2 games against our rival schools where I probably amassed close to 20 turnovers in total, and I cried after those games. I'm gonna be honest. Like, after the home game, I cried in the fucking closet. And I remember they put me in a room. It was in the game. I remember. Deadass, I'm not even sure if your brother remembers this, but I cried on the fucking closet because I knew it was my fault. And, well, it wasn't all my fault. I'm not going to get into that. But it wasn't all my fault. No, don't say that. Don't even say the letter.
B,
and
C, D, E, F, G.
Your brother, he puts his arm around me and he pats me on the back. And I still remember that. And then they isolate me in a room with Tyler and... Excuse me.
With T and B.
No, I could say Tyler because he's good.
Okay, Tyler and B.
Tyler and B. And B gives me a little talk. And he talks about how this is just going to be my freshman year, and I have so much other years, which I could kind of talk about later, but wow. No. So, that's good. We got a lot of freshmen walking by, which is crazy. So, I looked up to these seniors. I had 2 seniors on my JV team, and they were really good, and they played other teams, and they were homies. So, it was crazy to look up to them and know I was going to be that one day. But I feel like that's such a cliche thing to say. But it was so crazy to look up to those 2 seniors and think, wow, this is really going to be me. That talk, and I see this whole future. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I need to bleep that out.
Just go again.
B gives me that talk, and I look up to these older people, and it's like scary, but also I feel so ready for it. I expected myself to pass these expectations so quickly, and then after the game, yeah, I cried. That's about it. That's the only 2 times, those 2 games against the rival schools, that I've cried after a game.
Can we talk about one thing moving backwards?
Sure.
Or, well, if you want to. Like, there was a point in freshman year where you wanted to, like, quit a bunch. You want to talk on that or not? Is that, like, not
That
important?
wasn't real. That's not important to me.
Okay.
Sophomore year is when I want to quit.
All right.
So sophomore year, over the summer, I get moved up to the varsity. Tyler, he's starting at the time. So because he played the other year for CIF team, he gets injured and I start starting. And I get instilled with me a lot of this confidence, and they treat me like a project in that they give me a ton of chances and they want me to succeed. And I keep on failing. At the time, I still had a little of the freshman Dave in me, where I was cocky enough to accept that and expect that, like what B said, I have so many more years to improve on this. But by the time the season came, so fall, they moved me to the bench again, but then the season came, and I was like the 6th man for a while. Then our captain gets injured, who played the same position as me, and I start. And when I tell you I know I didn't deserve it, like, I really knew I didn't deserve it. And your brother, he was behind me, and I felt really bad for him. Because I knew I didn't deserve this, because one thing, I was failing. Another thing, I wasn't working hard enough because I was going through my own dilemmas. And I would say, like, sophomore year, like, in a movie, that's the pure character development period. Because this was probably, like, it was weird. And that, like, I never, it's still hard to express what happened then. But I did terrible. And I felt bad because I kept on getting chances. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I started for a while, and then they finally moved me to the bench, which I was okay with. And during this year, maybe even more so than junior year, I was like, I'm gonna quit basketball. I'm gonna quit basketball. I'm gonna quit basketball. I kept on telling myself this, but I had too much pride to quit. I was still a sophomore, and they still treated me like a project. But I remember one talk. Now, like, one of my favorite coaches in my history has E. He gave me, like, he went on a fucking crusade against me in one of our club games. Like, there was this other guy on the other team. He was a freshman. I was a sophomore. He thought I was a junior at the time. And, no, E thought I was a junior at the time. And he bitched me. And then E was just like, you're soft as shit, you're sorry, you're a fucking varsity fucking player, and you're getting bitched by a freshman, which was all true. And I could thank him for that now, honestly, because it was that hard-ass mentality that I was kind of looking for. I wanted to have someone to take me accountable for it at the time, and because I feel like I didn't have the passion in me at the time, I couldn't capitalize on that accountability. And then quarantine happened. And quarantine, it's like, it's obvious. Everybody says it. It's good and bad. For basketball, terrible. For me, for my mind, it was good. I was able to progress a lot. And I went through a lot of self-reflection, especially through basketball at the time. But I wasn't playing basketball as much. I wasn't going out. So when I came back, I wasn't good. Junior year, I'll pass it by. Junior year, I sat on the bench. I wanted to quit the whole year. And again, nobody held me accountable. I was placed in the end of the bench, and nobody held me accountable. And that felt bad because it felt like I was a loose end. So senior year, this is the final thing really, senior year summer, E really takes a chance in me, and he believes in me. And it was kind of like the similar thing from the white tall Oklahoma coach I had a long time ago, where I had someone that believed in me and that was willing to push on me, rather than just treating me like a project or treating me like nothing. I think I should focus on that. I felt like it was a project my sophomore year. I felt like I was dropped. I could talk about it forever. In the end of the season, they said, Dave, next year you're going to get like 22 minutes. I obviously did not. I sat on the end of the bench. I probably got like a similar amount of do not plays to plays. Senior year, and yeah, that's actually kind of how I want to end it. E took a chance on me, and I was able to work my way back up. And even though, like, I'm still, like, on the bench, even though I have a role on the team, like, I have a pretty significant role on the team, it's more like a mental thing that helped me build up again, where I have the same confidence of me from my freshman year, and I also have the grit that was instilled in me from my childhood. And without him, like, legitimately, that I'll always stand by his side, even if I disagree with something that he says, because he gave me the chance to regain what I had. And I feel like at this point, I am the best individual I've ever been. I feel like I'm more knowledgeable than I've ever been. But I'm also humble and willing to know that I can get more. And that brings me to now, like, after this year, basketball's gonna be over for me. I feel like most people, it's like, I can't live without basketball. I need to keep on getting to the gym. And there could be park hoopers. There could be 24-hour hoopers. After the last like alarm to end the last game, hopefully in CIF, I'm gonna be done for basketball forever. Like, there's my captain, my sophomore year, I always looked up to him, and he always was extremely nice to me. And I know he stopped playing basketball. And that's what I want to do. I've come to peace knowing that I'm done with basketball. And what scared me about B's conversation a while ago, it doesn't scare me anymore. I'm okay with it. Because I know, like, I'm more of an individual than just what basketball is, unlike I was before. I have passions in my regular life. I've succeeded in my regular life. And I don't need basketball anymore. I won't let basketball hold me back like it did sophomore year, where if I do bad in basketball, I let it affect everything outside of it. Because I'm like someone that plays basketball. I'm not a basketball player. So when I go off, it will definitely be bittersweet with me. Because I think what I gained most from basketball wasn't being good at basketball or anything like that. It was everything I learned, and also the people I've met through it that have taught me lessons. So I've gotten everything I can from it because I've learned so much. So I'm satisfied. And that's all I can do.
That's
Anything
what's up.
you want to add?
No, that was good.
Okay.
Are we ending on orange juice or no? We're just gonna add the audio from last time.
I'm just going to end it right there.